From Canada, Citizens Forum, where we look at the important issues of the day through a lens of democracy and media and try to figure out, how do we build a better country for ourselves? Norm, your second topic was going to be...
Well, my second topic was I recently did a Substack about 5G on my account, and a lot of people are equating 5G and millimeter waves and thinking almost in the sense that that's all 5G is all about. Rather than go deeply into what it's all about, that there's many more things that go into 5G. There's a lot more health issues that we've been having for a long time, and they're going to get worse with the non-millimeter portion of 5G. The millimeter portion is a whole new discussion of many more things. And I guess my main thing is it prompted when I saw an article about people talking about 5G as though 5G is a new problem. It's not a new problem. It's been around for a long time. And when I bring up 5G and millimeter waves are, as somebody after they read that article pointed out to me, are much more than 5G. And there is millimeter waves being used in Canada. There's at least one car that uses millimeter waves for their side scan, radar, and all the rest of that. It also is, you can use it as a unlicensed frequency, so anyone can use in the roughly 60 gigahertz range. Now that 60 gigahertz range is a very concerning one that people are going to start using. That's been related to, it interferes with the uptake of oxygen into your system. And when you think in terms of some of the reports about COVID and how it affected how people were breathing, I guess is a big part of it, that I can't help but wonder, is there a connection with the unlicensed use of millimeter waves and some of the health problems the world has experienced in the last few years?
Yeah, what's interesting, Norm, there was just a study from Europe, and I'm going to try and bring it up here if I can figure out how to do it. It talks about a lot of issues that for some strange reason never get mentioned in the media as if they were of no importance.
Well, Jack, you have to realize that the big part is in the telecommunication industry. That's, I forget what the numbers are, something like a $5 trillion business a year around the world. And the telcos, to a great extent, control media all over the place. So, of course, they don't want these concerns about radiation.
Yeah, I'll just read what it says. This is from a place called Green Med Info, and I kind of like them. It says, as of today, the U.S. has over 200,000 5G towers, and hundreds more of similar things are going up daily. And they talk, last year, a team of European scientists looked at what can happen when people live near 5G towers. And not only the towers, but now they're spread, basically on every street, I think. Concentration and memory problems, sleep disturbances, emotional distress, including depression and anxiety, cardiovascular issues, rapid or irregular heartbeat, muscle and joint pain, fatigue, headaches, irritability, and burning or stinging skin. And it says in every case, these symptoms developed within days of a 5G node or tower being installed near a study participant's home. And as soon as the study participants moved away, their symptoms vanished. So, I mean, if they're getting away with this kind of mass sickening and murder of people with the full support of our governments, and the media never talk about it. That's where we're at.
Well, that's actually what, in a way, what my Substack was about, that all the concerns they mentioned for health-wise, and they didn't mention electromagnetic hypersensitivity, which is maybe not technically a health issue, but it's definitely a quality of life. That's all correct. But when they call these towers 5G, they are missing that these towers are also radiating on the 3 and 4G. The 5G antennas on it, even if they don't have the millimeter wave frequencies, what they are doing is filling in, I guess you could say, gaps in the radiation spectrum in the what they call low and mid-band area, and increasing the intensity. So that's what 5G is doing. But you have to remember, these problems have been there for a long time, and they will continue because of the towers having not just 5G, but also 3 and 4G. Really, the towers should be called something other than 5G, in my opinion.
Yeah, poison centers, for example. Mehdi, I'm not sure if you had a next topic or not.
Just about the towers and 5G. It's very simple to find the truth, but the government refused to do any public study about it, and the government because our government are captured by corporate interests, they allow the corporations do whatever they want in order to increase their profit. In terms of the last topics, I just want to go back to the election and maybe talk about Mr. Poilievre a little bit. He said his meme and his slogan is axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crimes. And in all of this, he never say how he's going to do it. For example, if he axes the tax, how is he going to fix the budget? Because if you reduce the amount of money coming to the government coffers, then you are going to have a huge problem with fixing the budget deficit. And that is why he doesn't talk about it, because he's going to cut social expenditure. He's going to cut healthcare budget. He's going to cut education budget. And by doing so, he creates crisis in both education and healthcare, so they can push for privatization of both our education system and healthcare system. He talk about building homes. We don't need building home. We need building affordable housing, not market housing. He is not going to build affordable housing. He's going to give more public land to private profiteers to build market price housing, which is not going to solve the problem of housing for the people. So I hope people go through all these, really pay attention, question these corporate sock puppets that are our politicians, and don't be fooled by their propaganda and their lies. Please pay careful attention.
But Mehdi, if you're paying careful attention, you still have to vote for either the NDP, Liberal, Conservative, Green, or People's Party, or maybe an independent. I mean, for the major parties, aren't they all the same? Does it matter?
Yes, they are. But as I said, in this election, in last many elections, sometimes it's good to vote for NDP in the places that they have a chance to elect an MP in order to create minority government. That's the only way to create minority government. I am not a supporter of NDP, but I think people, for example, in Victoria should vote NDP. In Vancouver Island should vote NDP. In many areas in British Columbia should vote NDP. And in other places, in Ontario and other places, because that way you get a minority government. You are not going to have majority NDP government. You are not going to, by voting NDP, but you will more possibility by voting NDP, you get minority, maybe liberal government that can push our public issues in front of the policymaking agenda.
Okay. The second topic I want to talk about is vaccines. The measles has been a big story recently. And the general story from our governments and our media is that vaccines are both safe and effective. And, that's the story. So about, just by accident, about close to 40 years ago, a friend who was in medical school showed me one of his medical textbooks, and in it there were these graphs of all the diseases that we vaccinate against. And surprisingly, it showed that the death rate in all of them had been coming steadily down from the 1880s until when the vaccines were introduced in the 60s or 70s or whatever. And when the vaccines were introduced, it didn't really make a difference. So I want to show one of those. This is for measles. And I don't know if this graph is correct, but this is basically what I saw in my friend's medical school textbook all those years ago. I've seen these graphs and charts in different places. I don't ever see anybody saying that the information is not correct. And yet the media will never mention this. While they continue to tell us that vaccines are safe and effective, they won't show these charts, which, these are, as far as I know, the official numbers. This is, I don't know where this comes from. Maybe it's all a lie, but it says mean annual death rate from measles in children under 15 years of age, England and Wales, from about 1850 to 1950. And you can see it starts off fairly high and goes up and down and generally falls off very greatly until here in the 1950s, the virus is identified. And I think about 10 years later, the vaccine for measles was introduced. So, it seems to me that what's happened is this disease of measles was falling off for a very long time. And then the corporations that introduced the vaccines took credit for all of that and, have built themselves a billion-dollar industry. And now maybe I'm wrong. I can't say that I'm right, but it is not necessarily good for us that we don't even get told this. This is whooping cough, which is pertussis, which is something else we vaccinate against, and it shows pretty much the same. Death rate per million falling steadily. The vaccine is introduced here, and antibiotics are introduced here, and it continues to fall. So again, and yet our government and the media tell us constantly that vaccines are safe and effective. And if I believe they were, then I'm all for them because that's wonderful. But there's another chart that I'm going to try and find. Hold on for 1 second. Oh, here's one. Yeah, this is interesting. I Googled, are there dangerous ingredients in vaccines? It says, right at the top of Google, they are safe in the amounts used. Some people worry that certain vaccine ingredients like aluminum, gelatin, and formaldehyde might be harmful. But this is only true if they are present in much larger amounts than what is found in vaccines. Even water can be dangerous in large enough amounts. And this is the standard argument, I think. But we're never told that these ingredients like formaldehyde and aluminum are in vaccines.
Can I say something about vaccines?
Yes.
I have no qualification to talk about medical issues, and I have been taking my vaccines until when it's come to mRNA vaccine, COVID vaccine. I did not take that one, and I lost my job over it. But one thing I should say that, for example, the measles that right now they are talking about, they said a girl in Texas died from measles because she didn't have vaccine. And that was wrong claim they made. They find out later that that wasn't the case, and the young girl was died because of misinformation, misunderstanding by the caretaker,
The doctors.
the doctors
Yeah.
have a wrong diagnosis. So people have to be very careful, and I hope everybody again pay attention by going through it. I say about the COVID, I didn't take a vaccine. I didn't get really sick at all, and what I find out during COVID, that by taking vitamin D3, 4,000 units per every day, I improve my immune system and don't get sick. And I haven't got sick in last 4 years because I'm taking vitamin D3, and it's working for me.
And here, this is from a guy who's done some studies on this. This is talking about different diagnoses for fully vaccinated children versus unvaccinated children. And I'll just run through a couple of them. Severe allergies, it's 4 point something to 1. Gastrointestinal disorders, it's, I can't read the numbers here, it's very, hold on for a second. Yeah, 20, looks like 23 to 1. Asthma, 17 or 47 to 1. Autism, ADHD, you can't see maybe because of the arrow, and chronic ear infections. So this is comparing fully vaccinated children to unvaccinated children. And I'm not saying the studies are correct, but why is this never even mentioned by the people who run things?
Oh, Jack, if I've got to say something there, that I suspect when you were a child, you had 4, 5, 6 vaccines. Now, who knows how many they give kids. Yeah. And I bought the story about vaccines and how wonderful they were and never really paid much attention. But when the COVID vaccine rolled out, I was hearing a few little things that didn't sound like a good idea. And I started looking at all vaccines after that, and some of the stuff you brought up today, that I started running across, shall we say, a considerable amount of that, and realized that they've been giving us quite a story. And, well, frankly, I don't think I'll ever take a vaccine. I'm just not convinced any of them are effective, and some of them are actually quite unsafe.
Yeah, and I'll finish off by saying, for me, if vaccines are safe and are effective, and when I say safe, I mean like eating a carrot, that level of safety, then I'm all for it. But I don't any longer necessarily believe the story, and the fact that no discussion is allowed, no points of view are allowed that don't fit the official story is very bad for us Canadians. So this is basically the end of the show. Any last comments, Norm?
I was just curious, when you were talking about eating a carrot, is that an organic carrot?
Exactly. Mehdi?
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, everybody, for watching from Canada, Citizens Forum. Bye-bye.